Hello everyone. Today I want to start with something you have almost certainly experienced but may never have taken seriously as information. That feeling in your stomach before something goes wrong. The tightening that arrives before your mind has processed the situation. The nausea before a difficult conversation. The inexplicable unease in a room that seems perfectly fine to everyone else. We call these gut feelings. We use them as metaphors. We tell people to trust them and then immediately override them with rational thought. With social expectation, with the assumption that the brain is in charge and the gut is a passenger. But the research tells a different story. And today, I want to walk you through what that story actually is. Because understanding it changes, not just how you think about your gut, but how you think about your health, your decisions, and the signals your body has been sending you that you may have been trained to ignore. And critically, as I have mentioned in previous videos, approximately 80 to 90% of the signals traveling along the vagus nerve, the primary communication highway between gut and brain, travel upward, from gut to brain, not downward. The gut is not receiving instructions from the brain and executing them. It is sending a continuous, high-volume signal upward that the brain interprets, responds to, and in many ways defers to. But the research tells a different story. And today I want to walk you through what that story actually is, because understanding it changes not just how you think about your gut, but how you think about your health, your decisions, and the signals your body has been sending you that you may have been trained to ignore. According to research, the gut processes emotional and threat-related stimuli with measurable speed, in some cases registering a physiological response before the prefrontal cortex has completed its conscious evaluation of the same situation. The gut feeling is not a figure of speech, it is a neural event that precedes the cognitive one. If your gut is constantly sending signals to your brain, signals shaped by the microbial population living there, by the inflammatory state of the gut lining, by the adequacy of its nutritional inputs, by the hormonal environment surrounding it, then the quality of those signals directly shapes the quality of your cognitive and emotional experience. A gut in distress does not send neutral signals. It sends signals that the brain interprets as threat, as anxiety, as low mood, as cognitive fog, as a vague and undirected sense that something is wrong. And the brain, receiving those signals continuously, begins to generate thoughts and interpretations that match them. Not because something is actually wrong in your life. According to research, individuals with diagnosed functional gut disorders show altered brain activity in regions governing threat processing, emotional regulation, and interoceptive awareness, even in the absence of external stressors. The gut was generating a signal. The brain was reading it as danger. And the person was experiencing anxiety, hypervigilance, and emotional reactivity that appeared to come from nowhere. The anxiety you have normalized. The low-level sadness that comes and goes without obvious cause. The difficulty concentrating when nothing in your environment explains the fog. The emotional reactivity that feels disproportionate to what triggered it. These experiences have always been attributed to the mind, to psychology, to personality, to life circumstances. And sometimes they are. But sometimes the signal is coming from below. According to research, gut microbiome composition is now one of the most studied variables in the neuroscience of mood and cognition. Specific bacterial species, particularly Lactobacillus rhamnosus and several bifidobacterium strains, have been shown to produce direct effects on GABA receptor expression in the brain, reducing anxiety-like behavior through a vagus nerve-dependent pathway. When the vagus nerve was severed in animal models, the effect disappeared entirely. The bacteria were talking to the brain. The vagus nerve was the line. Cut the line, and the conversation ended. In one study, examining this in human participants, probiotic supplementation, targeting these specific strains over 8 weeks produced measurable reductions in self-reported anxiety and cortisol reactivity compared to placebo, in individuals with no diagnosed anxiety disorder and no other intervention. The gut shifted. The brain followed. Not just physically settled, no bloating, no discomfort. But genuinely settled. Quiet, not asking for anything. Not reacting. Not creating a low-level background noise that you have become so accustomed to you no longer register it as a symptom. For many people, that settled state is so unfamiliar it is genuinely hard to remember. Because the gut has been in a state of low-grade dysregulation for so long that its noise has become their baseline. And its signal, the anxiety, the fog, the flat mood, the reactive emotions, has been attributed to everything except the organ that is generating it. According to research, gut permeability elevation, microbiome disruption, and chronic gut inflammation are each independently associated with increased psychological symptom burden, including anxiety, depression, and cognitive dysfunction in young adults with no psychiatric diagnosis and no obvious life stressors. The gut was the common thread. The question the title asks, "Do you?" is not rhetorical. It is an invitation to start paying attention to the signal your gut has been sending, not just as a digestive report, but as a comprehensive readout of your internal state. To stop dismissing the unease as irrational. To stop treating the anxiety as a character flaw. To stop explaining the fog as tiredness or the reactivity as stress, and to start asking what the gut is actually trying to tell you. Because the gut does not lie, it does not catastrophize, it does not ruminate or spiral. It simply reports the state of its environment with a directness and an immediacy that the thinking mind rarely manages. I hope this gave you a genuinely different relationship with the signals you have been living with. Drop a comment and tell me what your gut has been trying to tell you. I read all of them, and I mean it when I say, I want to know. If this resonated, hit the like button and share it with someone who has been told their anxiety is all in their head. And if you're new to NutriFlow, subscribe and hit the bell. This is exactly the conversation we have here. See you in the next one.